Welcome to the Enlighten Me podcast with Pete and Nzinga. Now on to the show. So hi Nzinga, how you doing today?
Pete, I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself? Namaste to you.
Thank you. So now tell me, what does namaste mean? I've heard that before, and it sounds like a wonderful term, but this is we're going to kind of get more into this later in this podcast because this is our first one, but I'm a newbie to all this, and so I want to know what this is about. Tell me about it.
Wonderful, absolutely. Namaste is a greeting when we greet each other or see each other, and basically what it is saying is that the God in me sees the God in you. I acknowledge the God in you as I acknowledge the God in me. And it's a very soulful way to communicate or greet one another in the very beginning and the end of an encounter.
Oh, I love that.
It's a beautiful way, yeah.
Yeah, and so that kind of is starting to mean a lot to me when you said the God in you seeing the God in me, because that's something that I didn't really understand before, but I'm becoming into an understanding about this. I guess for our audience, this is we probably should kind of introduce ourselves a little bit. Nzinga and I you just met like maybe a week or two ago or something like that.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, at an Abraham-Hicks conference, which is just amazing. That I almost feel like the conference, not the only, but the main reason I went was to meet you, because that's I went with the intention of not only hearing from Abraham-Hicks, but to also, meet like-minded people. And you were really the only, I sort of tried to meet other people, but it was almost like the universe was like, no, you're here to meet Nzinga, and she's the only one you're here to meet. And so it was just like we've just so clicked, and we've been texting each other almost every day. And
exactly.
And girlfriend, we're going to take some of your texts and we're going to turn that into poetry or something. We're going to just turn this into a whole thing, because it's just been fantastic. I almost feel like, I'll text her back and mine are just so boring. I'm like, oh, there's no way I feel so inadequate in my texting abilities.
I just let the spirit lead me, and that's what it is, and everything to me is just so heartfelt. And it's true, when we met, it's so funny and ironic, Pete, because normally what happens is that we have this preconceived notion about what to expect, and we begin to sort of try to, build a bit of expectation when, some people do and some people don't. It takes discipline to learn not to build expectation, but just to go with the flow, so that you don't usually become disappointed. A lot of people become disappointed when they build those expectations, but it's just a human thing. And so we kind of go to these workshops or these meetups or these events sort of with the preconceived idea of what it's going to be like and what we can get from it, and just expecting certain things and anticipating different moments. And you never know what's in store for you. You never know what your journey and what your path really is all about until you're in that moment experiencing that particular moment. And you go there with, like I went there with the idea of, this is my first Abraham-Hicks actual physical workshop that I've come to, and let me see what I can get out of it. Maybe I have a question, maybe she'll choose me. And I got there, and even though I had the pleasure to and the opportunity to hear and absorb all that she was saying, my main focus was our conversation. It was so uplifting and enlightening and just joyful. The connection was wonderful. I met a wonderful human being, and that was the true intention that the universe had for me. So
isn't that amazing?
It is. Absolutely.
And so that was, I didn't know that. So that was your first Abraham-Hicks seminar that you'd ever been to as well, then?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
It was.
Okay.
Even though I've listened to her for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's interesting. So I'll talk a little bit about my journey. This is my 50th year here on Earth.
Okay.
And I always knew year 50 was going to be the game changer. I didn't know how or why or what that even meant. I just always had this knowing that year 50 was going to be a game changer for me. And so I guess about 5 years ago, I hit what you would probably say rock bottom and went through the dark, what do you call it, the dark journey of the soul, dark night of the soul. And so I had met a new friend, and I told him, I said to him, and I don't mean to be negative, but just kind of to introduce how I learned about the law of attraction. I said to him, I said, I have realized every fear I've ever had except for one. And he said, do you know why that has happened? And I said, I have no idea, Mike. He said, because you've been focusing on that. And it just was like this light went off on my head. I realized every thought I had ever had for probably since the beginning of time had been centered around those fears, and every single one of them had come true.
Wow.
And so that was my journey to begin to start learning about the law of attraction. And then it's really funny because I had set up my intentions and all this kind of stuff, and I was coming from, a fairly low place and met every single one of those intentions. And then last December, I hit kind of another stumbling block because I realized I had not intended anything forward. And you know how the universe works. If you don't have anything forward, you start falling back. So I had gotten where I saw myself being, not having a clue in the world how I was going to get there. And then bada bing, bada bang, I'm there. But I had nothing forward, so everything started falling apart again. So in January, I got a life coach, Constance Arnold, out of Atlanta, Georgia. Wonderful lady, wonderful woman. You can find her on the internet. Yeah. And just started, listening to some different law of attraction things, getting different books, and I guess it was probably around June when I first discovered about Abraham-Hicks, and I can't even really tell you how it happened. It was just kind of one of those web search. Of course, we know how it happened. We know the universe, knew that I was questioning this and looking for this. So, of course, it came forward, and I've just been hooked ever since. So, when I saw that she was coming to Atlanta, they, it gets so confusing about how to, because it's a lady, Esther Hicks, and we probably should get into an introduction a little bit about what Abraham-Hicks is all about. But anyway, so I saw she was coming to Atlanta, which is fairly close to me, and decided to go, and then I met Nzinga, and like I say, it was and I'm going to ask you about something. I think I told you about this happening at the conference, but I'm going to ask you what your opinion of this is. While I was there at the conference, we she takes segment of refreshment breaks, and I was out in the lobby.
Yeah.
And I was standing at one of the tables, and I've had dizzy spells before because I work out a lot. Because part of my new journey, I work out a lot, and my trainer says that's totally normal. So I'm like, okay, whatever. This was not a dizzy spell. This was almost like if you took a camera with a fast action shutter, and like you open the shutter, you close it. You open the shutter. It was almost like I saw a picture of the world. I mean, like where I was, and then it went away, and a picture, and then it went away, and then a picture. It was a stuttering. It was almost like I was like shifting in time, and I was like, what the heck was that? I mean, it wasn't really. I wouldn't necessarily say disorienting or like I felt dizzy. It was just, and it was almost like I could feel my soul or my mind or my brain expanding, like something was expanding. I didn't know what, and I didn't know what was going on, and it almost felt like something was downloading. And I'm not even going to say that I even know what that was. But so tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, truthfully, I feel because what we are as human beings, we were thought first, and we are thought first. And through that manifested matter. And all that matter is, scientifically, basically, is a vibration of frequency and energy that is vibrating at such a fast rate of speed that it becomes matter. And so, really, you are your frequency, your energy and frequency first. Well, thought and energy and frequency. And so, if your body is just this, I guess, this house or this tool or this that houses that energy. And it's, I can understand your word verbiage when you say this downloading, because even though we are in this physical flesh and we feel, taste, see, hear, and speak and all of that, but we're still, the makeup of who we are is vibration and energy. So a lot of and consciousness. Let me not forget that we are consciousness. So a lot of the information that is being transmitted to us from what they call the Aztec world is where thought comes from. A lot of that consciousness cosmically is coming to us, in this human form through that frequency. And it's so, an example is, you could be, you're with a person and you're having a great time and they go through an emotional mood swing and they switch channels on you all of a sudden. You're happy one minute and then they get some bad news and their emotional swing and they go off and they change the channel. They change that frequency. You can either go with that frequency, or you can stay in your own or create a different type of frequency. So it really is that. So I believe that what you might have been experiencing as you were standing there, because this happened to me before, is when your chakras are so activated and your pineal gland, your third eye is so activated and you're so open to consciousness and you're so open to that good feeling that you're feeling, and that everything around you is emitting beauty and love and just that good high vibration, or that Krishna, which is the Christ consciousness, and you're in that vibration, then yes, you become so activated and expanded and open to those higher vibratory frequencies that things do become almost distorted. And then there is some more background behind that, because we have just moved as of 2012 from a third dimensional place into fifth dimension. So we even physically are beginning to make an ascension to a fifth dimensional particular paradigm. So there's a lot of things that are definitely going to be happening planetarily, cosmically, through your body, through your mind, your spirit, all of your energy. I think it's a great thing. Embrace that and continue to stay open, because there is so much energy, and maybe there's something else that's trying to channel its way in you. So There's a lot of different, yeah.
Cool. And do you know how many subjects for podcasts you've just brought up? I mean, I was just kind of ticking in my head. I think I was at number like 5 or 10. I wasn't even sure. We're golden for episodes coming up. So would you like to take just a little break right now for our audience and us, just to have a little bit of refreshment, then we'll come back?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's take this little break.
Okay. Okay, Pete, I know we're back from break, and I hope we had some good refreshments. I did want to ask you, you did mention, you were talking about your journey and how you actually stumbled upon Abraham-Hicks, who is also AKA Esther Hicks, and she also had a life partner or husband, Jerry Hicks. And I don't know completely, but I will, in maybe a later podcast, bring forward the complete history on Abraham Hicks, Esther and Jerry Hicks, who basically Esther Hicks is a channeler. She actually, at some point in her life, has encountered some type of experience which opened her consciousness, and she became expanded. And through that expansion and meditation, I believe it is, she was able to communicate with a higher particular type of consciousness that is coming in cosmically through her, which means that there are certain points within her experience where she actually takes a seat and she warms the bench while another entity comes through and channels a much higher, lovely consciousness. Jerry Hicks, which is her husband, is her partner, and who is currently made his transition, but for many years, like yourself, was very inquisitive, and he wanted to know. He had many, 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 many questions once she began to discover that there was this particular type of entity consciousness coming through that was offering expansion and healing and advice and therapy for humanity. He began to become very inquisitive, and that's when they embarked on a wonderful journey. So she shares a lot of information to lift us, enlighten us, awake us, and keep us moving forward in a positive direction for humanity's sake. So I would like to know, Pete, because it's so long-winded, what you felt and how did you feel when you first heard Abraham-Hicks speak? What kind of feeling did you get from that?
I got a real feeling of love. That's just what I would say. And when she talks about a lot of things like being in the vortex and all these kind of things, which, are so foreign for somebody that's, never. So I didn't understand half of what she's talking about. but I just kept getting these feelings of love. And the other thing that really got me is that she never made a pitch for anything. Because everybody else, it seems like when you go onto the law of attraction, if you look online and you start, trying to get things, it's always about, they'll give you 10-second snips for free, and then it's like, okay, buy this ebook, join this conference, do that, and I'm not saying anything that's bad, but
right.
It was just that it was so obvious that her highest intention was just or their highest intention was just to be there. And from what I understand, the way it started was they had heard about I Am Seth with a lady named Jane who channeled Jane. I can't remember her last name.
It's Jane, actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she had channeled an entity named Seth, and I think they'd heard about that and then started meditating. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. It's Jane Roberts who channeled
Jane Roberts.
Seth.
Okay, I'm glad you knew. That's why we're co-hosts. So things I don't know, hopefully you know it. So yeah, it's just so obvious because the great thing is that the message is really, even though she brings in a lot of technical terms, the message is really so simple. It's so simple because I've been studying some of these other things. And there's all these techniques, and it's just like class 1, class 2, class 3, and it's like all this stuff, and it's like it's really amazing to me. Like right now, because I'm going through this wealth creation group, and they keep wanting you to go back and talk about things that have happened in the past, and that is no longer a vibration for me, and I no longer look at that anymore. And I can't. In fact, it's so weird because I can't even do the exercises because I can't go there because I'm in a higher vibration than that now. I've changed. It's like Esther Hicks or Abraham-Hicks says. When she'll get somebody that's on kind of a a lower feeling disc is what she would call it, and then she gets them feeling higher, and then she says, okay, now talk about what your problem was, and they can't because they're no longer. They're so higher above that level they cannot. And I'm not trying to be like I'm a big woohoo. I'm just saying that's the same for everybody. When you're on that lot higher feeling emotional plane, you can no longer even talk about those. You have to bring yourself down, to get to that point. So it's just been so masterful for me. And I am so blessed because like my main career, I guess, or the main part where my money is coming from right now, I'm on the road a lot, although I'm so excited about blessing somebody else with this job. But I'm very blessed because I'm able to listen to Abraham-Hicks for 8 to 10 hours a day, all day long. And it's just, and that's what I need right now. Or I don't want to say need, but that's just really what's feeding me right now. It's just wonderful, just replacing all that old programming with this new. Really, you could put down what Abraham-Hicks believes. I believe in like maybe 2 to 3 sentences, and you know what I mean. It's just amazing to me. So that's why I love the simplicity. I love that nothing is pushed. Like you got to buy this product, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to be this person, you got to be that person. I just love that you never get it done. You can't get it wrong. And it's all about love and feeling good, and that's just been so foreign to me because I'd always just kind of discounted my feelings my whole life, and now to know it's all about just feeling good, and that's it's been a real journey.
A wonderful one at that, and there is a common goal or purpose because we all come here with intention and purpose, and even though Esther as a human entity or who channels Abraham, who was another consciousness, even that consciousness has purpose. And I think it's so important to know that the great intent behind it all, and this is what all channelers who are bringing information in cosmically from other areas and multidimensional places of realities and dimensions and so forth, that the common goal and underlying purpose is not for them to come and stand up at a pulpit or a podium or have a workshop or facilitate these meetups to, number one, make money or any of those things. Of course, we as human beings have to sustain ourselves, but it is to assist humanity with a new raised conscious vibration. So, and to get humanity to understand individually, as we individually orbit through this journey in life, picking up the pieces of experiences through whatever experience it may be. It could be anything, you know, that through that, not just an individual, not just harboring our own individual experience and going on and making money and becoming successful and being happy, but that we make up a part of the whole. So the true purpose of it all is to come to assist humanity in learning and rediscovering who we are, the essence, the true essence of who we are, the power of who we are, the God aspect of who we are, coming into a particular knowing so that individually we change our face, our beingness, our energy, our frequency, and then we share that and we coexist and co-create with one another to change the things that are in this life that we have collectively already created, like war and hunger and famine, disease and pestilence and, you know, just homelessness and just these different separations of division. So there is a purpose. I love the purpose that Abraham comes with, because she's not here specifically for herself to gain monetary access to all the luxuries of life in this human form, but to help us to rediscover who we are, to remove the veil that we've been born with and come into a full expansion of our God self, and then share that and be amongst others and share the same frequency so that we again can create a new heaven and a new earth. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And it's wonderful to watch one another come into that field of knowing and to see them almost become reborn again. Like, oh my God, I got this new toy, or, you know, it's just this newness and how it comes about, that good feeling, and they're no longer oppressed, suppressed, depressed, compressed, and all these pressed things, you know. They're no longer under the thumb of suppression, you know. So I think it's beautiful, and I think that's a good thing to know the purpose, you know.
What I find is amazing is that, you know, as I've grown sort of in my journey, I usually get mine mainly off of YouTube, and I don't know if I'm searching different or looking different or what it is, but the YouTube videos are changing. I mean, maybe I'm hearing a different thing, but I'm not hearing what I first heard when I first started. Now it's at the stage I'm at now, and something really happened to me, interesting to me the other day. She was talking about people that have transitioned and how they're there really to help you, and I started thinking about, none of my family has ever been close. So I started thinking about all my relatives who've gone over. It's like, well, we weren't close here on Earth, so why in the world would we be close now? But I was thinking about a friend of mine that had transitioned a long, long time ago, and I thought, I can't remember his name. And it wasn't 5 minutes later. I mean, it's been since high school, which, okay, I'm 50. Okay, so we're talking it's been a long time ago. His name popped into my head, and I thought, that is amazing. Because I have for a long time been trying to think of his name. Actually, every time I would think about him, I'd think, I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. And it's like almost now I've become more open to, you know, realizing and the knowing that I am surrounded by, you know, I don't know what you'd call non-physical entities, I guess you'd say, perhaps. Yeah. You know, that they're there with me at all times, that I'm surrounded. And that was just kind of like a little... Almost like Abraham-Hicks says, you know, the universe will give you signs and clues. Oh, this is another interesting thing. This is so fascinating to me because, you know, Abraham-Hicks talks about when you're in line, nature will come forward to you. You know what I mean? And so I do a lot of my time on the road, and I thought, nature hasn't really. And then I started thinking about all the squirrels, all the deer, all the little field mice. And how the other day I had stopped somewhere and a yellow jacket got on my windshield. Wow. And stayed on my windshield for half an hour while I was going down the interstate. Aww. So I'm going 65 and 70 miles an hour, and that yellow jacket stayed on my windshield the entire time. And I thought, okay, yellow jackets are nature, Pete. Hello. That deer that didn't run out that deer and the 10 others that didn't run in front of you in front of your car, that just stopped at the side of the road and looked at you, that was nature. The squirrels you didn't run over, the 20 or 30 of them that have crossed your path, and the field mice, I've never run over any of these animals, you know, woodchucks and yes, I am out in the county, but I mean, we're talking, I'll see like at least 2 or 3 a day, you know. Right. and
Right.
different animals that'll run out in front of my car, and they don't run out to where I have to slam on my brakes, or it's never like that. It's always like well ahead of me, and they don't even necessarily even look at me, but they're just crossing my path, and that's just like, okay, now I understand. So it's interesting how you can just be so blinded to things, and I'm sure, heck, there's so many phases of this. We're all still blind to something.
Yes.
And,
We can be oblivious to certain things and just take things for granted sometimes. And it's beautiful when we, for just a moment, find ourselves in that place where we begin to really recognize nature and just those things that you did.
right. And that's another thing that I think is really fascinating. Think about all the people that you know. Let's say you didn't know about all this, and you thought that whatever this particular thing was, this particular house or this particular relationship or this particular pile of money or this particular job is what you needed to make you happy. Think of how many people have that and are miserable. Do you understand? What I'm trying to get at is it's all your frame of mind, it's all your frame of reference, it's all where you come from. Does that make any sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense because I always use this one example or analogy, which actually I think Dr. Wayne Dyer used it, and I don't think I'm going to get it quite like he did, but all in a nutshell, it's all about perspective and how we perceive something to be, and also choosing the emotion if we even decide to choose it. We can pick our emotions very carefully. We are great, wonderful, magnificent human beings, and we have the ability to choose our emotions. Some people say, I can't help it. I'm just sad and I can't help it. Yes, you can. You really can help what you choose because you're born of free will. And so I totally understand. I totally understand where you're coming from with that point.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because my whole life, I've been through the counseling and the drugs, and I even tried being an alcoholic for 2 years, but that just didn't work for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, but since January, there's no more negative self-talk.
Right.
I just feel so, and I still have days that are lower, but I just decide how my day is going to be, and it's amazing to me as I'm learning more of my own power. I mean, part of what I do is I'm a field inspector for mortgage companies, and so I'm basically looking at foreclosures, and about 95% of them are occupied. And these people are not necessarily happy to see you, but I have just made the intention that everyone I meet is friendly and helpful. And the other day, and that's always happened. And then I think it was yesterday. Now knowing I have all these non-entities, I said to the non-entities, I said, okay, non-entities, I'm tired of talking to these homeowners who have been nice to me. I don't want to meet any more homeowners for the rest of the day. And guess what? I didn't meet any more homeowners for the rest of the day. And sometimes it'll be so wild because all I have to do really pretty much is take pictures of the home and then drive off. Some of these people will even be in the yard, and I'll be driving up there, and they won't even see me.
Wow.
Now that is kind of a little freaky. I'm just going to say it's wonderful, but it's a little freaky. And the very first time that I had ever really started using the law of attraction, I was actually out of town, and I was a little, kind of out of sorts, didn't know where I was going or anything like that. And I put forward that everybody I met was going to be friendly. And I went up to the door of this one home because I was supposed to leave a notice, and I didn't think anybody was home. And all of a sudden, the front door just like swung open, and this lady just had this really gruff face, and she was like, "What do you want?" I told her who it was, and it was weird. It was like this like sheet went down over her face, and all of a sudden she had this big smile on her face, and she said, "Okay, thank you." And it was the weirdest thing. It was like all of a sudden the universe was like, "No, Pete made an intention for you to be friendly to him, and that's the vibration he's on, and that's the vibration you're going to give out." It was just, and just for the rest of the day, I was like shaken, but in a good way.
That's
you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You can get shaken by good things.
Yeah. I veered off my point. I kind of went in left field with that, but then I was trying to make a point, I guess, about Wayne Dyer and about perspective. And it's good that we create our intent before we even plant our feet on the floor. When we get up in the morning, before we carry our feet over to the floor, to set an intention and say, hey, look, today I'm going to stay on my high flying disc. This is the type of day I'm going to have. It's going to be a wonderful day no matter what. And it gets better and better as we progress in life. And the more we stay in that vortex, as Abraham would say, the more we continue to see ourselves right there, always at that high point of our beingness, of course, things are always, we attract to us more and more. We perpetuate the same thereof, which is that good feeling, good vibration. A lot of things begin to move out of our way, and we don't have as many obstacles and things of that nature. But life does happen. And sometimes, when we set a great intent for the day, all chaos breaks loose. And it's not always even though your intent is genuine, sometimes it doesn't pan out to be that way. It might be a bunch of things. But again, really intent and perspective is a very thin line there. It's about perspective because, again, as Wayne would say, there was an old dresser in the corner of the room. And, you could look at that old dress and say, that raggedy old dresser has no purpose. I don't know why it's sitting in that corner. It's all beat up. I need to just throw it away or call the Salvation Army and have them come pick it up, give it to Goodwill. It's not even worth Goodwill. It's just an ugly dresser. I don't know why it's there. And you can have that perspective and kick it as you go by or you can wake up and you can look at that dress and say, I've had that dresser for about 10 years now. All it needs is a little paint on it. It served its purpose. It's still holding my clothes. It's actually a beautiful piece of artwork in that corner. It's about perspective. Even in the most tragic, and I do mean tragic circumstances, be it death, murder, incest, rape, all these things, and it's a very hard pill to swallow sometimes when you're talking about somebody's child being abducted or murdered or raped or incest, all these things that happen in life, or hunger or starvation or Sandy Hook or something. It's a hard thing to swallow when you say, well, how do you want me to look at that like it's great? How do you want me to see that as that dresser? But it's not about the details. It's not about the death of the murder or whatever it is. It's not about those details. It's about the evolution of mankind. It's about how you evolve and what you have, because we've all come here with contracts, and some have come to be born disabled or handicapped or paraplegics or vegetables or whatever. Some of us have been born with all kinds of things. It's all about contracts, but it is what we gain from the experience that helps us to evolve into these better creatures, these beautiful gods and wonderful beings, even in the worst circumstances, to see the beauty of it, and to take that forward and not put so much energy and focus on the very details of everything. And then to change that thing, to change it, to take that feeling and to just go out and say, hey, look, if you have this perspective, it's a ripple effect,
Right.
And so it is about perspective. But it's great that you get up and you do have set your intent. And the more that you begin to do that every day, you set your intent, you put your focus on the type of day that you want to have and the feeling you want to have, you'll perpetuate the more of. And then you'll see your friends change, your family change, your whole space and environment just becomes beautifully eclectic and wonderful and joyful.
Right, and I think as we grow and we find that we do create our own reality, even if we create it by default. I think that's what's happening, in a lot of those situations. But once you realize that all of it is for the good, of the expansion of consciousness for us as a whole, and also that we are eternal beings. This isn't like the only chance we're ever going to get at this, and we are the ones that value whatever happens to us. I mean, to the universe doesn't care anything about whether it's a 20-year-old car or a brand new Mercedes off the lot. To it, it's the same thing. But to us, we value it. We put a value on that, and that's fine that we do. But I'm just saying, in the eternal aspect of it, that doesn't make the difference that we think it makes. So no matter what the life experience is, it's still expansion, for both us and for everyone. But I think for a lot of people, I think for most people, I would say in the high 90s, most people just don't realize that they create their own reality, whether they, like I say, from default, because that's where I was, 5 years ago, or I guess it was 7 years ago actually now, when I realized that all my fears had come true, and that was because that was the reality I was creating, because that's where I was putting my emphasis, my focus.
Right.
And I had a lot of things going for me before that point, and just threw them all out through, self-doubt and feelings of low self-worth and the fear and what I was focusing on and all that. And thank you, Lord God, universe, that is all gone. I am ready to just rock and roll this world. I am ready to rock and roll the rest of this eternity, because it's time. It's Pete's 50th, and it's time to get it going.
Absolutely, that's right. There's no time to waste. Every day is a new day. Every day is the beginning of life for us, and we have multiple opportunities to choose what we want to create for ourselves, and that's the beauty of it. And yes, going back to walking in sort of that darkness, or for a moment until you come into that, I guess, to the realization of things, or for example, just coming up into finding about learning Abraham-Hicks and the information that she shares and things of that nature. We do tend to, I think she says it beautifully when she says that when you don't make a choice, you're even making a choice not to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still choosing. You're choosing not to choose,
Right.
and you do begin to live your life in default.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is that the universe chooses for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then all kinds of things happen. All kinds of things happen. So we must be intentional human beings. We must be authentically genuine about it. We must know our purpose, what we're here to do, why we're here, what reason we're here, bottom line, at the end of the day, what are we really here for? And I know it's not to just go through the everyday mundane motions, we're just injected into a matrix and we just live our lives out, just going through. No, there is a purpose, and I think it's so beautiful to watch one another unfold, our lives unfold, and when we start to gain better perspective and higher consciousness, and we become more enlightened beings, we become more caring and more considerate, more compassionate, more loving, gentle souls towards one another. And there's nothing that we're not willing to do, to help one another. That I know is my purpose. That I know is something that I don't want to leave until my contributions are accounted for. And I don't mean, sitting back collecting a pot of gold. I mean, really truly being a fisherwoman of souls, gathering up all of the souls of this human race and saying, not necessarily teaching them, but just sharing with them, hey, this is a new perspective. We can actually try love. How about that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do that, and how about we change this paradigm? How about we all shift together?
Mm-hmm.
And then to watch that, would be something wonderful. I probably will never live to see it. I may come back again, to re-experience that, but to just at least participate and be a part of the positive polarity of things is a wonderful feeling, and I wish everybody would jump on the bandwagon.
Well, just think about the expansion of the world that even we have witnessed. I mean, it's amazing to me, and I guess through the venue of TV and the internet and that type of thing, just how interconnected we are, and just it just blows my mind when you hear people talking about the world is dying and blah 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 blah, and it's like. And then you go to the ocean, you're like, it looks just fine to me. Yeah. I mean, plants are still growing and everything is still going and people are still having babies. I guess that's what really kind of that was what I questioned really when I was young, because I would hear the stories on the TV news, and I would read the newspaper articles, and yet I would go out the next day and people were still buying new cars, and I'm like, did you not hear about last night about how we're all broke? Did you not? And and it's just the cycle of life. It just keeps going and expanding. It doesn't matter what all the pundits and what this person or that person is saying. It's gonna it's this huge ball that you're just not going to stop rolling, no matter what. And everything, like Abraham-Hicks says, all is well. It's all going for our good, and it is all expanding, no matter what anybody is telling you today. I'm going to say here in the civilized world, we live better than the kings and queens did 200 and 300 years ago. You know what I mean? We have things that they could not even imagine. I mean, even people on, God love them, food stamps and welfare live better than the kings and queens did 200 or 300 years ago. And that is amazing to be able to say that. And that to me is a major expansion. You know what I mean? I know there's still people out there that, have terrible things happen and are hungry and that type of thing, but you've got to agree that it's just expanded to where that has become less and less and less. And believe it or not, when you turn on the news, and it's why I don't even listen to the news anymore, what you're seeing is like probably less than 5% of actual human experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not seeing the overwhelming amount of prosperity and abundance and happiness and joy and peace and love and tranquility and working togetherness, even though people don't even know who they really are, that is happening. And oh my gosh, if just we're probably, I don't even know what, maybe 2 to 5% of people know about this expansion. I mean, if we get to where it's 10 or 15 or 20%, I mean, it's just gonna be cray cray, okay?
Beautiful ripple effect, and that's the hope for humanity, because I mean, life is perfect now, and everything is well. Everything is all well, and how it's all well is because each one of us, we are all participating collectively to continue this particular path for humanity. But the thing is that there has to come, a shift must change too. I mean, there does have to come a point in time, because we can't continue to go down. I mean, we can, if that's what we continue to choose. But there are some very strong beings and energies like yourself and myself and Abraham and all those that are participating on a more positive conscious field of vibration, who are really, really digging deep and trying to help the planet itself, which is also a consciousness, help raise the vibration of humanity to change things, because it is that ripple effect. Once we, as a collective whole, begin to change ourselves individually and feel better about life and about things, then all our surroundings it'll just fall into alignment. Everything will be in alignment, and we will see a change. We will see less and less disease and less hunger and less division and separation, all these different degrees of separation. We will understand that just like the sands of the seashore, individual small little sands, they have its purpose because it makes up the part of the whole. So a shore and a beach can't be a beach without the individual grains of sand, as we are, So we understand that we are part of the whole, and that collectively we make that beach, and it could be anything that we want it to be. But it's just about, and there are some that go out there on a more grander scale that will go out and touch many at one time. But individually, we must change individually, really discover that part of us that wants to be a part of something greater, and experience something so infinite and so endless and so cosmic and so just, without any potential, no cap on that potential, just to just go and be free and be multi-dimensional beings. And the quicker we discover that we are infinite and that we are creators and that we do have the ability through thought to, you can sit here and you can think to yourself, man, I sure would like a caramel macchiato from Starbucks. That's a thought that just came in. And 5 minutes later, you're cranking up your car, you slip on your slippers, you throw on your hat, you're at Starbucks, you got a cup of coffee, a caramel macchiato, manifestation through thought. We create, a table, whatever, invention. And we are powerful human beings just in that process of thought. So collectively, can you imagine if we began to change individually and come together and then begin to change the tides? Yeah, we can get rid of all of these degrees of separation and this imbalance and this disharmony that we're experiencing which some of us who are on such a high flying, we don't even get to really experience it because we're in such great joy about it. It doesn't matter anyway, but it does matter.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
it doesn't, but it does.
Because we realize it all comes to our good and all as well. So
yeah,
no matter what it is.
Because we want everybody in the same.
Right.
Know.
Yeah. I want everybody to give thanks for all things, and I do. I give thanks for all experiences I've had and everything that's brought me up to this point. I am so thankful and so grateful. Yeah. And that would be both the things that common man would count as good and the things that common man would count as bad. They all have come for my good, and I'm grateful and thankful for all of them. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. Well, we're just about getting close to an hour, so we've probably got about enough for this episode. Do you have any final thoughts, anything you'd like to say? Or
I think it's just a wonderful experience, and I'm so happy that I'm embarking on this journey with you, Pete. It is going to be so explosive in the days to come, and I just look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, this is our first episode, and I think it's just been phenomenal. And who knows, once we actually get the hang of this, what could actually happen. So, yeah, and I just want to tell everybody, peace, love, joy, tranquility, abundance, and great love.
Ditto.
And thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Enlighten Me podcast with your hosts, Pete and Nzinga. Namaste.